We're going to have a discussion that I'm sure you're going to remember. You never forget, Naveen. About primarily the future of health and his new company, Viome. So how many people here know what the microbiome is? Maybe like a quarter. Naveen, what do you say to that?
Well, first of all, the only reason is because we are self-centered, egotistic people. We somehow believe it is us that is controlling this world without realizing there are 40 trillion, I say trillion, and just imagine there are 8 or 9 billion people live on this planet. And if there were 5,000 Earth, all of the people combined live inside each one of us, and they control everything that happens in our body. And somehow we seem to still believe that we are the one who are actually making the decision what happens in our body.
So you're saying we don't control ourselves?
Yeah, so I think, let's just step back for a second, is that what is it that we're trying to do? So before we step into what microbiome is, maybe let's take a step back in terms of what problem are we trying to solve and why this problem is worth solving. So imagine, how many of the people in this room, you know someone who has suffered through any of these chronic diseases, diabetes, depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cancer, autoimmune diseases, heart diseases? How many of people in this room either know someone who has suffered from any of these chronic diseases? Almost everyone. And here is why. In this planet, we have more or less wiped out all of the infectious diseases. We no longer die from infections. We are all starting to suffer from these chronic diseases. And for our healthcare system, especially in the United States, that has become the best business model. When in our country, when nobody in the healthcare system makes money when you are healthy, and everyone makes money when you are sick. Think about that for a second. Here is how it works. When they find out that you are young and you have a chronic disease like diabetes, they probably have a machine that says, ka-ching, lifetime subscriber. Because none of the pharmaceutical companies will ever solve the disease. They simply suppress the symptom. How bad is that?
Naveen, how do we change that?
Yeah,
how do we change that?
The way we change that is to understand what causes these chronic diseases to happen. So remember, the chronic diseases happen by having a chronic low-grade inflammation that comes from the imbalance of the microbiome. And I'm going to explain to you in a second that what it really means and what we can do about it. Many of us somehow are made to believe that our genes are our destiny. Our DNA is a software of our body. And if somehow we understood what our genes are, somehow we would know what makes us click. Now, interesting thing is, from the time we are born to the time we die, our genes never change. Our DNA is identical from the time we are born to the time we die. Somewhere along the lines, we get sick. How can we blame something that hasn't even changed? What had changed is the expression of these genes are constantly changing. However, there are 3 types of genes that are expressed in the human body: the mitochondrial genes, the human genes, and the microbial genes. The human genes only are about 22,000 genes that are expressed by the humans that come from our mom and dad. Our microbes, 40 trillion of them, produce somewhere between 2 million to 20 million genes. That means at best, we are 1% human, right? Interesting thing is, our human genes that are even being expressed are being controlled by the metabolites, by the production of these organisms. When you eat the food, it changes what they produce, and what changes gets absorbed in the blood, and that changes what we are expressed. So to answer your question, Alex, the way we control what's happening in our body is through the food. We all have heard of a personalized drug, right? What is one personalized thing we do every day? 4 times a day, food, right? What if we knew what food is right for us and what food is wrong for us? So we somehow have this feeling there is something called healthy food. We are always told, eat healthy. without realizing there is no such thing as universal healthy food. Spinach was made popular by a TV show called Popeye. And somehow you ate spinach and you became strong. It turns out the Popeye was wrong. When you eat spinach is really not healthy. Spinach has a lot of oxalic acid or oxalate. And if your gut cannot detoxify oxalic acid or able to deal with the oxalate, it ends up as a kidney stone or worse, ends up in a chronic disease. People talk about the foods like pomegranate juice or blueberries, they're antioxidative. They must be good for you. It turns out, no, they are not antioxidative in themselves. Pomegranate juice contains allergic acid. It's not antioxidative. When allergic acid goes into our gut, some of us are able to convert this allergic acid into urolithin A or ULA. That is antioxidative. And if our gut microbiome cannot do that, then pomegranate juice does absolutely no good for you. In fact, it only harms you.
And you're saying your new company addresses this.
So what we do is actually not understand what organisms are there, but we understand what actually they're doing. Not just who they are, but what they're doing. And that is a phenomenal breakthrough, Alex. This is not a technology that we could have done ourselves. This technology was developed at Los Alamos National Lab, where they spent $2 billion developing it for the biodefense work. And what they were trying to figure out was, if somehow a bad actor were to get hold of something biological, how would we know what is making us sick? And they developed this technology to find out what these organisms are actually producing and how that impacts the human health and what makes people sick. And we license that technology to keep people healthy. And what we do is, once we analyze your gut, we're able to tell you, should you be eating apple or not? For me, apple is really bad, because my gut contains this virus called apple chlorhexidine leaf virus, that when I eat apple, I'm feeding that virus and it continues to inflame my body. Banana is really bad for me because banana contains something called chitinase. The chitinase is being converted into sulfide and ammonia that is causing my body harm. Many of the people who go on a keto diet and they eat a lot of protein, and it turns out when you eat a lot of protein, for your body, it ends up in the gut that feeds the protein fermenters, and it releases ammonia and sulfide that causes massive inflammation. When you go on a fasting diet, thinking fasting is good for you, your organisms start to eat the gut lining. And we see that happening. So literally every one of us, there is no such thing, do this and it will work for you. For some people, it will be the high protein diet. Some people will be the high carb diet. Some people will be the high fat diet. Some people will be spinach is good. Some people spinach is bad. So what we do is to personalize that for you, and it has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people.
So Naveen, you're saying that through Viome, we take a test. Do we do that regularly? Every quarter, perhaps?
Yeah, so what happens is, as you change your diet, your microbes, your gut changes constantly. So what you do is you do a test, and it tells you what is going on and what food you should eat. And when you change your diet, you have to retest every 3-4 months to essentially rebalance your gut. Otherwise, you go out of balance again. You tune your car every once a year. Your human body is a lot more complex. You got to be tuning it at least 3-4 times a year.
And so you believe that the future of health is this personalized experience that allows the individual to understand how foods interact in their body so that they can optimize their health. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it is absolutely correct. The power, our goal is to empower each one of us to take control of our own health. We want us to become the CEO of our own health. We can't rely on the doctors and pharmaceutical companies to keep us healthy, because what they're trying to do is there is a pill for every ill. Doctors have really become the salespeople for pharmaceutical companies. You tell them the symptom, they'll give you the drug. None of them actually care what is causing the symptom. So for example, if I have an autoimmune disease, they don't want to find out what's causing the autoimmune disease. They give you a drug to suppress your immune system. For heaven's sake, when you suppress your immune system, what is going to happen? Oh, you're going to get sick, you're going to get other diseases, but don't worry, we got drugs for them. And doc, what happens when I take those drugs? Oh, don't worry, they have side effects, but we got drugs for them too. And by the time you get old, you're taking more pills than blueberries, and there's something is wrong with that system.
And so given that kind of this theme is focused around data, I'm very curious, where are you in this process?
Yeah. So it's very interesting that I'm going to just step back for a second, Alex, and just give you the reasons of why I started this. So as you know, I grew up in India. We were very, very poor. We didn't have a food to eat. We didn't have a place to stay. I went to United States with absolutely nothing, didn't speak the language. And God has been very, very kind to us. And with that kindness, I have now done, this is my 7th company. And I look back and saying, I'm getting to this age where I have not paid my debt back to the society. And when I started this company, my mission was really simple. If somehow I can help 1 billion people live healthy, I would have paid my debt back to the society. So everything I do is simply to make sure that people never get sick. My mission is to create a world where sickness is purely a matter of choice. Sick, just like we say, being healthy is a choice, I say being sick is a choice. If we know what is going on inside our body, we can decide and take action to actually keep ourselves healthy. When I started this company, the cost of doing this test was $10,000. We brought it down to $1,000. Then we brought it down to $400. We brought it down to $300. And last week, we reduced the price to $250. And in a month or so, we're going to break it down to $200. We make absolutely no money from it. Why am I doing it? Because if we don't do it, then who will? Imagine the billions of us are suffering. And if we can collect the data to understand what is making people sick, the power is in our hand to come together. If million of us could do the test today, we will have all the information we need to find out every single disease, how to stop it. And we need that.
Well, and so pushing further down that subject into the realm of data, you launched the company in, 2016?
Yeah.
And so you've gotten, you now have a data set, for sure, that is actionable. Is it actionable yet?
Well, it's not only actionable. We have tens of thousands of people who are telling us every single day their acne is gone, their autoimmune diseases, their childhood diseases are gone. People are telling us the things that they never thought was even curable. People are losing weight. People are, diabetes is gone. We've seen the depression is gone, the anxiety is gone. And again, I'm not making claims because we can't make any claims of curing these diseases, but what I can tell you is what our customers tell us. Our customers, simply by adjusting their gut and reducing the inflammation, the things we used to call disease were simply the symptoms, and those symptoms go away. And I really believe that day is not far away when you and I will be able to look back and saying, our generation was the generation that actually fixed this problem. And if we cannot come together to solve this problem, we're going to watch our children and grandchildren suffer. So power is in our hand to take some action and fix this problem, or continue to watch ourselves suffer, our loved ones suffer, and worse yet, our children suffer.
And so Naveen, given that we're here on stage at the World Government Summit, what role do you think the government has in this realm? Well, we have a lot of members of the Dubai government here. What do you want to say to them regarding the future of health and their citizens? Well,
it's really simple. Our healthcare costs will continue to go up because these chronic diseases are the fastest growing cost. We always know someone who is suffering from depression, diabetes, obesity, or cancer. These are preventable diseases. These are not something that happen overnight. They happen over time. It's not like you went out and say, honey, I was out last night with the boys. I think I might have caught diabetes. It isn't something you catch. It's something you develop over a long period of time. These are called preventable diseases. These can all be prevented. So if I can ask for help, anybody in the government, is to imagine, if we can come together and collect the data set for 1 million people, this problem will be fixed once for all. It is in our hands to fix this problem. The question really comes down to is, will we watch, or will we actually take action and do something? So if anyone who is listening to it, if there's anything you can do to help, not me, but help us and help the society get rid of these chronic diseases. Now it's your time. Now it's your turn to do something. I'm going to continue to dedicate my life to solving this problem. I can't do it alone. I need each one of you to help me.
And so, Naveen, from here, I mean, what do you see the timeline looking like towards kind of some of these milestones and these goals?
So I think we are already at 100,000 people that have taken the test. And I really believe in the next 2 to 3 years, we can reach our mission to make this happen. So I really, at this point, as I said, the biggest satisfaction I get, Alex, is that there is not a day that goes by I don't get an email that someone says, you changed my life. You've given my life back. You've given my wife back. You've given my children's back. You changed the way I live. I never thought I will walk again, and now I'm walking. Because they had so much joint pain, they could not walk. They thought they were going to be in the wheelchair for the rest of their life, and now they can able to walk. And when you tell someone that they no longer need a autoimmune disease, they no longer have to suppress their immune system, they no longer have to be pricking their finger every day, and they're losing weight, and they not only get the satisfaction. People who used to be depressed, wanting to commit suicide, are no longer depressed. People who were anxious are no longer anxious. This is the problem we can solve. My dad passed away 2 months ago, and I saw him die from pancreatic cancer. And even though everything is so clear that how pancreatic cancer starts in the gut, and if I had started this company 2 years earlier, I would have been able to watch him live. And I promised him that I can't save his life, but I'm going to work hard as possible to solve this problem so no one else has to watch their dad die, or their mother die, or their siblings die. And this is a problem I'm going to need help to solve. And just because I couldn't save his life doesn't mean I can't save billion people, other billion people's lives.
And with that, I believe our time is up. Naveen, thank you so much,
very much, Alex,
for joining us.